Hello, this is Moose, or Josh, and this is my editor commentary of Conezone 2, because I thought I should go through this before deleting all these source files off my computer, because they're using just way too much space. So I'm trying to just talk through it finally and get it all on record. To begin, well, I suppose I should go into how the project came about in the first place. So the original Conezone was sort of a silly idea that grew from these edits by this guy called Motendo. A friend of mine showed me these videos and I became a bit obsessed with them. They were really just funny and crazy. So I did a really short edit called moos3 in this style because I was playing quite a lot of Gears Judgment at the time, and I think Liam was as well. We came up with the idea to make Conezone. This is when I was editing back in my Sony Vegas days. I think I was using Sony Vegas 13 maybe at that time. It was pretty fun to use, but grew out of using it when I went to university. I haven't really edited a Gears of War montage in a really long time. Did little bits here and there, mainly just stealing footage from Joe, who's Fun Sponge, and Alex. So I occasionally do videos like that. But yeah, for the most part, I sort of gave up on Gears of War editing. Still do editing as a job, but for most of the part, I wasn't doing Gears of War. I hadn't spoken to Liam in quite a long time. He had all these old Gears of War 3 clips, and he said the clips were terrible in his standards, I guess. I think they're okay. So I said, yeah, I'll make Conezone 2. For a long time, there wasn't any way of making cinematics. And then some guy leaked this Gears 3 alpha build onto some server somewhere, and someone got a hold of it. And I think I spoke to Tris, and he helped me install it, because it's bit of a weird process, but it's quite funny actually. The way I managed to get a hold of the build in the first place was that I joined all these Discord groups of like people that would have their own servers and host game files. Found this guy that had it on his server but had just deleted it like a week before. So I contacted him and said, would you be able to upload it again? And he was like, no, sorry, unless you can find some way of uploading it. I scoured the internet and found this website called GoFile, which would let you host files more than 50 gig. I think it was the zip file for the alpha was 70 gig. So I sent him this website and he was like, yeah, sure, I'll upload it then. And to his credit, this guy basically uploaded this 70 gig zip file and sent me the link. And yeah, it's just like kind of amazing that he even did that. So thank you, that guy. But here's the main edit, really. I've broken it down into sequences. So we have the intro, and then the Pepsi Man part, and then this clusterfuck, which is the arcade section, which has a load of extra mess on top of it because I did it in some stupid way, so go over that in a minute. And then the credits, right, that's a lot of background, but I suppose I better get into it then. So the actual edit, I wanted to put a lot of crazy cinematics and animations in it. I'd been dabbling in Blender quite a lot, especially for work. I've seen people describe Conezone as like brain rot, and I suppose it is that. So I didn't want the animations to be really clean and nice, and I kind of wanted it to be janky and for it to not really make any sense, because it just adds to the madness, I guess. So for a lot of the animations, just for ease of use, I pretty much would take any models that I could find online, mostly from Sketchfab, I think they were, but also I'd ripped a few files from the engine itself, and then just put them into Blender, save them out as a FBX, and then put it into Mixamo, and then find a load of animations through Mixamo for each character. I sort of prepped all these characters with different animations. A lot of that features in the intro. So here's the intro part. I thought it'd be cool to start the video with a little brief memory of Conezone, the original Conezone, which had this hammer time part. This was like the first time I was starting to use 3D, so this hammer was as capable as I was with 3D animation. I really had no idea what I was doing. It's quite funny actually as well. I don't think anyone even realised, because it's probably the most obscure reference ever. In the original Conezone, the song goes into a part which is from when you pick up a hammer in Smash Bros. So that's why it goes into Hammer Time, if anyone wants to know that. So then I wanted to start it with this Avenge intro. You know it is immediately if you're part of the Gears community, which I think anyone watching this probably is. I wanted people to think it's the intro, but you also know it's not. You immediately know something's wrong. So it starts with this intro. And then I got it to transition to this thing, and then it goes into a cinematic. So the way I sort of did this, took like a screenshot of the background and tried to match the framing of the car. So I used another car as reference for scale, which is a little Jeep car in Gears, and then just match the framing. So if anyone is interested, I found a way in Unreal when making cinematic in Matinee that you can export the sequence as a collider file, which you then can import into Blender, and it will have all these low poly mesh files of the environment that you made the scene on, which you can then use as reference. They don't come out textured like it would look in Unreal, but it's good enough. It would also create the camera path. Then you can also use an additional plugin from Blender to export the camera move as a JavaScript file, I think it is, to go into After Effects, which you can create a 3D camera from to use for further compositing. But let's get back to the video. So it swaps over to a Blender cutscene here, and that's just all comped on top of each other. A lot of this is just other comping as well, multiple camera angles. Let's go forward a bit more because it's going to take ages. So another scene here, lights opening. So I separated the object of the car and then parented these, just rotated them around. The funny thing is as well, just completely by accident, I had no idea that this car is associated with Initial D. But I just picked a car from random on Sketchfab and came across this one. So the Truno, or however you say that, is the car in Initial D. That was just blind luck as well. And then this is just some animation in After Effects. And then, so this is just some more comping going on. I just set up various camera angles in the engine to sort of show reflections in the wing mirrors and stuff like that. So then this is just some portal effect. I think this is like the only part of the thing that's rendered in cycles. Everything else was rendered in Eevee. And then, so he puts the pedal down and then starts this crazy Paul driving, which is two planes with this effect scrolling across them. And I've put the planes at a 45-degree angle, so they create this horizon. The car, I think it moves forward to this point, but then it all remains on just an empty where it stays still, and then these titles come in themselves. So the camera swings around here and then goes to here. So we've got this ticker is coming along and he gets run over by the car, which acts as a transition point. And then the funny thing is with this part, I tried for ages to find the map files for the Gears 3 Bullet Marsh. I actually found the map files that were ripped off the JTAGged Xbox, but instead I just made this environment. This isn't here, this ramp up, this isn't here, this isn't here. So yeah, it goes into this transition, and then I've got some wonderful cinematics from Liam. He recorded all these cinematics for me. That's just animation from Blender, I'm pretty sure. Goes into more cinematics from Liam. I just gave him a big list of cinematics to try and do and just let him do what he wanted. So, got that. And then I he does a lot of this like aggressive humping when he kills people. So I thought it'd be funny to have a cinematic of him teabagging. But he did a few takes where this earthquake was happening on this map. I think he's like rotor brush to cut him out and then cut it down the middle. So this part of the environment is shaking, like you can see here. Might as well do it. So then it goes to this part. And then another cinematic of him standing up, which goes into a transition. then another cinematic. I had to get Liam to record all these cinematics for me on Bullet Marsh because I couldn't find the actual map files for this, as you know. And this really awesome cinematic that pulls back from a drone to Marcus that I think Liam was really happy with. And then to this part, which is just a 3D animation in Blender, goes to a transition of another animation in Blender, and it's all just comped in with After Effects. Some more animations of characters that may feature or don't feature, you'll have to see, and another character, which is Brumac. And then finally, the intro, which is you've got the saxophone Boomer, and then Marcus and Cantus, who do feature in a video. And that's the intro. And now let's go into the next bit. This part, I just did some custom animation in Blender and just got Marcus drinking this Pepsi. And then this is a cinematic from Unreal, obviously. I think I just animated the can falling down in Blender. So I just matched the perspective of the camera, and then the drink, or the cola, obviously I have to say, the Pepsi, is just a liquid sim that I did in Blender. But it's it's just like syrup, and you can actually see the edge of the volume where it hits the edge. But yeah, it was just like, you know what, that'll do. Maybe that's why he threw it away, because you know it's a really thick drink. But yeah, so then goes into this part, which is kind of like a countdown intro into the main part of the montage. So this is all just a cinematic in Unreal. But again, because it was using an alpha version of the maps, a lot of the maps are really unfinished compared to what was in the final game. This silo door is open, so I changed this to be flat. Yeah, it goes up to this bit, and then it's all just like tracked in and stuff. And then this fence thing and this metal sheet and this isn't even part of the environment. That's not there in the engine. So I took reference footage from YouTube videos and stuff like that and just tried to recreate the environment as best I could so it'd blend in together. But obviously, because it's missing texture files and I can't make it look identical. And look, there's the silo open in the game footage. So really, really cool cinematics from Liam again. Really thankful for Liam to capturing these. Having to make everything in Unreal would just be way too much work. So nice super from Liam there, and then some more cinematics. I wanted to try and use all the cinematics he recorded because I know he had a bit of a pain recording them. So I tried to use them as much as possible. So this was one that he didn't really like, and I think he wanted to throw it away, but I just tried to use them. So he gets headshotted and lands on this staircase. This is the corpse of the Grenadier in a cinematic from Unreal. But then the head is just comped in from Blender. And then I put a bunch of PFX of the skull cracking and like blood and all that stuff. So it goes to this cinematic of Marcus there. And I found on the Unreal 3 documentation that you could use different view modes while rendering. So I'd use these view modes such as texture density and shader complexity to create mats for myself instead of having to mask and roto everything individually, which saved me a lot of time. It gets meleeed, got some profanity. It goes into this bit, and then I think this transition is really simple, but it works really well, where he hops onto the wall and then it just transitions into, so it's like really quick, but it's like, and then some more swearing. And then obviously had to use this because the timing of the lightning strike in the air is just too good to not use. And then some more cinematics from Liam. And he didn't like this one. It is pretty low quality because I cropped it in a lot. But you know, the timing of that is so lucky because I think he only did a few takes of this stuff. So obviously I've got to use that. Probably should have like upscaled the footage or something, but it doesn't really matter. And then he gets two-piece, and then goes into some more nice cinematics. Because I'm quite a big fan of Lord of the Rings, and I thought it'd be cool to have some kind of Sauron vision effect. That's why he appears there. because I'm trying to add as much madness to it as possible. And then obviously he's facing off S Martian and his like little friend. So I thought it'd be funny to add like the sound clip of S Martian when Iceman was trolling him. So obviously I've got to use that. And then into the crazy saxophone part. I think it's just like an environment from Sketchfab. Pretty much everything here is from Sketchfab apart from the characters. And all of this is just Mixamo animations that I've customized to work for the cutscene. And it's just a bit of tweaking the position of the arms. And so him playing the saxophone is just parented to his body. And this is just a load of Mixamo animations of different drones doing things. I actually timed the Grenadier guy playing the drum kit. So when he hits the snare in the video, it's actually in sync with the music, which was just a bit of an experiment. So I wanted to see if I could do it. If I just play it now. So that's actually in sync. So, and then I added him hitting the hi-hats, shaking as they're being hit. And I forgot I did this. The drum kit is called Mirror, because of the Queen from Gears of War. Little Easter egg there for anyone. And then I actually completely forgot I did that. It's actually kind of funny as well, but Boomer's Midnight Singers is actually just a bit of a balls up from me. Like one of my mom and dad's favorite bands, Dexy's Midnight Runners. So I wanted to randomly put that in there, but I accidentally typoed it and put singers. So sorry, mom and dad. So yeah, it goes into this bit, and then everything's still in sync. And then a bit of a split screen transition to the guy playing the keyboard. So I just repurposed animation and then twiddled his fingers around and animated the keys going up and down. And some anime whirly lines effect. I think I just found them online somewhere, to be honest. And then, so this crazy saxophone part is just all in sync with the music, especially the little legs kicking up. And then it blends back into the cutscene again. I tried doing this pixel sorting effect, but I wanted to see if I could do it in Blender for some reason. So that's what that is. It's this kind of effect in Blender of the texture being extruded, I think. To just advance along a bit more, goes back into some footage and then cinematics. I think Liam wasn't very happy with this one for some reason, but I think it works well. And then more cinematics from Liam. I just try and use whatever I've got, because why not? Saves me time. Little text animation there. And then another cinematic. I think Liam had no idea what I wanted. I asked for just some screaming cinematic of Marcus running up. And he did a really good job of him interpreting my stupid brief and not really knowing some more gameplay. Then another cinematic. I really like that, because you think it's going to be this guy playing and then he's actually just getting headshotted. Even down to the detail of the Grenadier Elite guy. Nice one, Liam. And then another cinematic from Liam, but I just added in this screaming text animation, Marcus, because I just found all these voice clips of Marcus screaming and I thought, that is so good, I just got to use them. And then, of course, yeah, Rorschach. I don't know why, but he wanted to add all these mirror voice sounds for some reason, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Just add more to the madness. So he recorded all these like voice sound effects like this. Like that is like ear rape quality, but
you have your uses, Cone.
I just don't even know what to say. It just adds to the madness. It's just great.
Worthless beasts, where are my dildos?
And then yeah, some really cool, full screen it again, cinematics from Liam, which worked really well, and then cinematic from Unreal of this guy dying. But then I just said to Liam, I was just like ran out of footage. Like I just used most of his clips already. So he scoured all of his videos and found all these old clips from videos, but videos that are already edited. So a lot of this is just clipped from other montages. But yeah, goes back into some more clips that he found for me, which is nice. And then I thought this would be a cool cinematic because it's a bit different. You know, a lot of cinematics I think just go straight into the guy who's doing the killing rather than the victim, I guess. I'll just play it here. But I'll just pause it before there. But really nice cinematics from Liam again, because he's like a cinematic god, isn't he? So this one was the timing of the thunder in the background on the rain is just, which I think that's great. And then this one as well, just really cool sweeping camera angle of Marcus running around the cover. That is awesome, even with the Cantus in the background as well. And then goes into this crazy Marcus screaming cinematic, and then a bit of a throwback to the 360 days of the messaging. So I think I found like the original PDF document that they had used as a style guide for the 360 dashboard, and I just used that as reference. And I tried modeling it again. I'm terrible at modeling, so I sort of made this, obviously made a sphere, but then made this sort of curved Xbox symbol. But then to actually make it like embedded in the sphere, I don't know how to get like clean edges, so I just used like a boolean, which is pretty terrible looking, but obviously adds to the jankiness again. So yeah, it's all animated in, and it's just a cinematic from Unreal, and it ends with the message. So that's the Pepsi Man part done, and now we go into the clusterfuck, which is the arcade section. I always wanted to do this sort of thing, but never really did it. I don't know if anyone will pick up on this, but it's actually heavily inspired by the Kung Fury videos as well. I did this in the most convoluted and ridiculous way possible. This is like a scene in Blender, which I'm pretty sure is from Sketchfab again, but I added animated textures. I think I just took footage from YouTube, put it into Premiere and exported it as MP4s, and then just put them as animated textures on the arcade cabinets, including the original Epic Games intro splash screen, so why not? So for the arcade cabinet, I did make a custom texture by editing the original texture that came with the model. I edited it in Photoshop and added a load of custom graphics, such as Carmine and the Grenadier and Marcus and stuff like that. I also found this cool artwork from this war scene, so used this website that would process it into this manga style, which I would then use on the arcade machine as a metalness map to add further detail to the scene. I used the original Gears of War font as well. And yeah, maybe there's a lot of detail that isn't seen in the actual video, but it's just cool to do. And then it goes into this first person perspective of Marcus playing the game. So I did this transparent view and then had the footage on underneath, so I have more control over it. So I can have this top layer, which is the 3D animation, and then I can have this bottom layer, which is the footage. Because the camera angle stays the same, I can just transition between different scenes, and then I can just put it all in sync from an animation in After Effects. So that was my plan. I did have like a bit of a plan, but it sort of just became this fucking mess. I thought it'd be funny that Marcus only wants to play himself, so when it's swapping between different characters in the footage, he's getting more and more annoyed. So he chooses to play as himself. So for the UI on the arcade machine, I made that in Photoshop, and I just took examples of the footage and put it on top to make sure it all fit in place. I wanted to theme it in Doom, which is where the player cam is inspired by, and I also wanted extra control of the player cam so I could swap between different characters depending on which character was being used at the time. I also wanted additional control over the health bar in the top corner, just to add a lot more detail. Liam requested I include some more footage into here, so I think I did this in this really stupid way where I nested the footage to keep it all within one layer, because at the moment it's 16 layers, which is just crazy. But yeah, anyway, it worked out in the end. So if we just get to where we were, and this is just a cinematic from Unreal of just a camera move on a green screen like this. But if you look at Marcus's face, you can actually see him screaming because he's annoyed that he's swapping character. I don't know why I do these things. No one's even going to see that. More footage. Another cinematic from Liam that swaps into a cinematic of the Savage drone, and then Marcus giving the middle finger to the footage because he's annoyed that he's being swapped into another character again. So then some more footage of Liam as the drone. This is a bit of a throwback to the original Conezone. So if you remember at the start of this video, in the original Conezone, it was
Hammer time.
I thought it'd be funny to have this kind of Boltok time instead of hammer time. And then, so it's got a cool cinematic from Liam of this guy getting headshotted. In the footage, Treble appears online. So obviously I've got to put a reference to Treble in there because the guy's a legend. I added this sort of confetti effect, which is just some particle effect in After Effects. And it actually shoots right at the end. If we watch from here, you'll see.
Time to get dirty.
Yeah, so then if we just go through this bit, so this is the Boltok time, more of Liam aggressively humping people, so obviously you have to put a cinematic of Marcus teabagging, some more cinematics from Liam, and I did this kind of some extra little animation part of Marcus tapping on the arcade cabinet because it's like breaking over time, some more cinematics and gameplay and stuff, and then I think for every time that a mirror gets headshotted, I add the voice clip from Rorschach, I hope. No, I didn't, damn it. That's the one time I didn't do it. It goes into the final gameplay. Liam tries to headshot this final dude, but doesn't connect. So I thought it'd be funny to go into this animation of Marcus getting just done with the arcade cabinet and he's going to fight it, you know, he's had enough. So Marcus starts fighting the arcade cabinet. I just took a bunch of animations and used the NLA editor in Blender to sort of make this sequence of animation. And then this is a direct reference to the arcade cabinet in Kung Fury.
Fuck this game.
So Marcus is getting electrocuted from the lightning attack, and then he dies. And then that's it. That's the end of the arcade section. And yeah, so I added a load of panning and cropping on top of the nested layer. So it's got a bit of camera shake, but obviously all the quality suffers because you're like cropping in on nested sequences and stuff. For what it was worth, I'm like, it looks good enough, you know. So that's what all this is, all the separate adjustment layers and cropping and stuff on top of it. And then it goes into the credits, which is mixture of Blender and After Effects and a shitload of Mixamo animations. You're not kidding. It's actually funny. I made the credits originally and made this credit sequence of a Brumac dancing loads. I never really intended to make it the credits. It was just this kind of mad end to the video. And I sort of went a bit crazy with it and just made it all in like one day. When I was done with that, I was pretty burnt out, to be honest. So I sort of stopped doing it for a long time. And when I came back to it, I was like, I've got to expand this and make this into a longer credit dance montage. So I added some extra scenes to it of Mirror swooping in on a drone, which was a lot of parenting and combining animations and stuff like that. You can see the Mirror like clapping on top. Which was the only custom animation I did in the whole shot because it was used Mixamo as much as possible. And then some more animation. Credit to Rorschach for his contribution in the voice acting department, because it was really good. And then it blends to the original ending to the credits. So then it ends with this, like a seagull. And that's it. That's about a solid 2 to 3 months of consistent work. And then I just had this huge break of not doing it. I had a few health issues in life, which made me put it on the back burner for a long time. Glad it's finished though. And if anyone actually watches this video, I hope you enjoyed this insight into the process of making this video. I think this may be the last Gears of War video I ever make. I've had a few people request videos between making this and all the work I do in my job. It was just too much work to take on. And including all the health issues and stuff, it was not really something I wanted to get involved with. For anyone who has watched this, thanks for watching this, and I'll speak to you online. Thanks. Bye-bye.